It's surreal to think that throughout the entire decade of my training journey, I only recently committed to my first proper bulking cycle, or in simpler terms, a dedicated muscle gaining phase. To provide some context, I transitioned from this physique at 64 kilos to the one you see now at 70 kilos, and accomplishing this transformation within a 13-week time frame. The primary goal was to minimize fat gain as much as possible, or maintain visible abs while reaching my target weight. So if you're navigating a bulking phase and aiming to optimize muscle growth without resembling Gorlock the Destroyer, these are the protocols I adhered to for a successful muscle gaining phase. Protocol number 1. Slow is better. Entering this bulking phase, I gained approximately 0.46 kilos of weight per week. Looking back, a slower rate of weight gain would have been more prudent. I recommend not exceeding 0.5% of your body weight per week to keep fat gain at a minimum. In my case, I paid close attention to visible changes in my physique. Even at the end of the bulk, I wanted to retain visible abs to a certain degree. I adjusted my caloric intake based on what I saw in the mirror. The key is not to rush to your goal weight. Remember, the objective is to build muscle, not just hit a number. Protocol number 2. Bulk short. Many fitness influencers embark on lifelong bulks, skipping maintenance and cutting phases, which can be detrimental in the long run. We're planning for long-term muscle gain, and to achieve that, we need to undergo all 3 phases for constant growth. You might wonder, isn't that a long-term muscle gaining phase? Here's the catch. You can't infinitely build muscle the longer you bulk. After a certain period, you'll accumulate more fat, inching your way closer to Gorlock the Destroyer. Think of long-term muscle gain like the S&P 500. No matter how high it climbs in value, the value will always dip into a higher low before eventually climbing to a higher high. Muscle gaining has its highs and lows, much like a stock won't continuously rise to infinity. Breaks in between are crucial. Protocol number 3. Calorie counting. You can execute a successful bulking phase without counting calories, but it often leads to more frustration. I diligently counted my calories every day, aiming for accuracy to the best of my ability. At the beginning of your bulk, creating a surplus of 200 to 500 calories from maintenance is a general rule. To adhere to the 0.5% rule of weight gain, I suggest sticking to a 200 calorie surplus and adjusting based on weekly weight fluctuations. Bulking and cutting are genuine trial and error processes. Nothing will be perfect and not everything will go as planned. Strive to make adjustments without dwelling on losses. Some weeks you may not gain weight, while others you might gain too much. Perseverance and resilience are key to sticking to the plan and protocols, ensuring you reach your goal weight. Protocol number 4. Your training program is everything. Throughout my training journey, I meticulously tracked my progress, including records, past workouts, and goal reps and sets. You can do the same using Google Spreadsheets or the RP Hypertrophy app, which I use for convenience. And no, I am not sponsored, unfortunately. Having actual data to follow and specific numbers to hit makes training more enjoyable and serious. If your goal is to get as jacked as possible while maintaining a lean physique, why not do everything right? When both your diet and training are in check, you won't end up as a ball of meat, but will display some well-earned muscle at the end of it. Besides tracking your numbers each session, it's crucial not to make changes to your workouts every week. Stick to a selection of exercises you enjoy, get better at them, and progressively increase the weight, reps, or sets. Changing things up too frequently makes tracking progress difficult, whether it's improvements in technique or strength. Ensure your training is on point so that throughout your bulking phase, you notice significant differences in your muscularity. Protocol number 5. Cheat meals help. There's nothing wrong with incorporating some junk food into your meal selection to meet your caloric intake. For many hard gainers, adhering strictly to clean bulking is just unrealistic. Now, you don't have to go to extremes like consuming a dozen donuts or downing a gallon of chocolate milk every day. Instead, switch to high calorie dense substitutes such as adding more canola oil, whole eggs, whole milk, or whole grain bread to ensure you hit your macros without dreading meals by the end of your bulk. A sustainable and enjoyable bulk increases your chances of success. Relying solely on nutrient-dense foods and forcing yourself to hit your caloric intake with only healthy options isn't realistic. We don't want to be in a position where we're putting food in our mouths when we don't want to. Incorporating some high-calorie foods and a bit of junk alleviates that pressure and stress. Protocol 6. Training stimulus. If you have your eating habits in check, how you train is equally important. To keep this concise, here are some guidelines for your training program. Number 1. Stick to a solid 1-week program. Avoid making huge changes as mentioned earlier, and focus on improving those exercises through progressive overloading. Number 2. Adjust your volume appropriately to allow enough time for recovery before hitting the same muscle group again. It took me weeks of trial and error to determine the right amount of volume that wasn't too fatiguing. Aim to perform a specific number of sets where you recover just in time to hit the same muscle group again. Muscle soreness is often a good indicator of how effective a workout was, but it shouldn't be the sole indicator, as a session can be brutal without noticeable soreness. For example, I could perform a total of 22 sets of back training in a week and barely get sore. However, doing only 2 sets of leg curls with drop sets would leave me sore for a week. Everyone is different, people react to certain exercises and volume differently, so adjust accordingly. Number 3, focus on controlled eccentrics of at least 2 to 3 seconds for every exercise you do. Concentrate on the targeted muscles pulling apart and stretching on the eccentric phase. Your entire focus during each rep should be on the stretch, not the contraction. Additionally, add a brief 1 to 2 second pause at the lengthened position of every rep to fully exploit the stretch of the targeted muscle. If you experience a good pump at the end of each set, you're likely training with good technique and executing your reps with good form and control. Train with intent and forget the notion of just pumping out reps. Number 4, experiment with lengthened partials and alternating partials. I'm currently making slight changes to my program by incorporating alternating partials in my exercises, adding partials at the end of my sets, or doing partials only. It's crucial to understand what the lengthened position is to avoid doing partials at the shortened position of a muscle. Consider a long length partial as the part of an exercise where the targeted muscle gets the most stretch, not the most contraction. For example, on a machine press, the lengthened partial would be at the bottom of the exercise, and the bottom of a pull-up or the top part of a lat pull-down would also be the lengthened position. Regardless of how you choose to do partials, don't disregard your form and technique completely. Control your partials and maintain a good muscle-mind connection throughout your sets. If your training isn't executed to the best of your ability, you'll just walk around as a larger version of yourself without any substantial muscle gain. When everything is dialed in optimally, a successful bulk is inevitable.